Shadowcast episode 12. I am your host, Sero. Today I have with me Kaishi and his little duck thing. We
It's
got
just a rubber duck.
Sid.
Come on.
It's a rubber duck. It's a rubber duck, ladies and gentlemen. We got Sizune, and on the line we also have Azure.
Hey there.
What is up, guys?
So, did you consider that you might want to put this in the stream announcement and just ping everybody or something?
No, but I will do that.
Yeah, we
right
never
now.
announced that we're doing this.
Alright, okay.
To those of you wondering what's going on, we also are doing this live on Twitch, and we forgot to announce that we're doing this live on Twitch.
We do every single
Best
time.
quality.
And with that said, what happened this week, guys? We had NGE over the weekend. We have lots of new Shadowverse cards. We're getting used to this metagame now. What do you guys think?
I think the aggro sword sucks.
I'm tired of PDK mirrors.
You
On
don't,
the NA side, it looked like mid-range sword did well.
The beat aggro sword.
on the NA side of NGE. See,
Yeah.
Yeah, NGE got they were really popular mid-range sword. It ended up being in like 6 out of the 8 top 8 decks, right?
Yeah.
No,
Everyone
I mean,
from
there's
DIS that
only-
made it brought it.
There's only 7 people in the top 8, ironically, because who was it that moved down to losers? Somebody moved down to losers.
That's
I don't remember.
That's kind of weird. 7
So
people
the
in the top 8 makes sense.
Yeah, no, the top 8 was only 7 people.
I'm not gonna pretend I understand why that happened.
One of them was really obese.
But they got farther than you did, Mr. Kaishi.
It was North America.
Oh,
I didn't even compete. I was in bed. Come on.
My stomach
Alright,
is my brain has
it evens out because DV8 steals Potwasher's lunch money, and they were both in top 8.
Wait, was Potwash in top 8?
I'm pretty sure he made top 8.
I'm pretty sure he didn't.
I think he got knocked out before top 6.
I don't know. I can go like to any member of Disaster's Twitter and it's gonna be there.
It's not going to be on mine because I don't use Twitter.
You're not a member of Disaster on Twitter. You're a member of I don't even know. Your name is strange on Twitter.
So were you any part of deciding everyone was going to bring mid-sword?
I've always been on the idea that people should bring the same lineups. I like that a lot. It gives a lot more feedback. And since we spend so much time prepping them,
So
we
the
think
mid-sword
that they're
pick
gonna
was
be the
just
best.
like, it's good against aggro sword, so we're going to ban PDK.
It's good against aggro sword. It's good against Atomy if they don't get the high roll. Like, if they have to wait till about turn 5 to Atomy, you can do fairly well. It's not as good against D-Shift as you would think, but it's still good enough.
There's a lot of
that
aggro tools.
you can still smork a D-Shift player down if they don't have a turn 7 shift.
I was
Which they all
playing
did.
a good amount of mid-range sword over the week, and I was having like some pretty solid success with it on ladder as well. Like the list to me, it was able to do a good amount of the things that aggro sword is able to do, a little bit slower, but it has so many more wards that it's able to defend itself against the aggro swords.
I think the thing with the aggro sword right now, though, like obviously you're better against more things, or you're better against aggro sword specifically as the mid-range deck. But the reason this sword deck is so strong is because of how fast it wins, and it beats everything because it beats them before they can do anything.
Yeah, it's if you miss your turn 1 play against aggro sword with just a reasonable curve, it doesn't
a
even
tough
have
play.
to be like the most absurd curve. If it's just reasonable, you're so far behind.
And like all the cards you need to put in to beat aggro sword is going to be useless against literally any other deck
Yeah, like
because there is no other aggro deck around at the moment.
just goblins in general. Like in my control list, I was legitimately thinking about teching goblins just to help me defend myself in the early game. But it doesn't do anything for you in any of the other matchups.
A lot of lists I was accepting for, I'm going to just lose to sword and try and do well against everything else. But then I realized, well, if you're losing the sword, you'll lose to Atomy a lot as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're similar because they're both board floody, except they're Sword has a lot more storm than Atomy will have, though.
Yeah, no, I mean, but what you do is that you lose in the early game. If you don't have to pressure early, you just get blown out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you can
Whatever it
bully
be
them
by
both
big
off the board, they
statistics.
can't win their games.
Yeah. Sword just has the difference of having storm. Whereas Atomy just hits your face raid. And has storm entire end.
Atomy has the reach of 13 damage from hand eventually.
So
Okay, Reed.
something we can kind of, I think, segue a little bit here is the release of Juliet. So Juliet is essentially Novice Trooper, but a commander with a little bonus effect.
Going
And
from round table.
a lot of people have been speculating that this indicates that they might be looking to introduce set rotations to the ladder.
I
And
think
it's
Oh, because
seen,
it's so similar to Novice Trooper?
yeah, because maybe they're seeing it as a replacement for Novice Trooper when they rotate the set.
I don't know if this is legitimate or not, but I remember hearing months ago that Cygames had said something about doing set rotations.
See, I remember that too, but I always thought they were talking about Take Two because they've been rotating Take Two since ROB.
They have been rotating Take Two, that's true.
I feel that they'll eventually rotate like the constructed format, but I think it's not going to be at least for 2 more expansions.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think we need our rotations for the game, like on a development basis, to actually develop. Like we're just gonna be stuck in this meta where you can't introduce new stuff unless it's just brutally power creeping what's old or just adding to lists that are already fast and established.
Juliet is significantly stronger than Novice Trooper is because she's a commander, I feel like.
Yeah, but running
But-
both is like just aggro paradise, right?
Yeah, the sheer fact that you can have 6 of the same card it's powerful.
Yeah.
Imagine if your aggro swords could have your 3 quick bladers and your 3 Tajis.
And my 3 animated quick bladers. Get them all in there.
That's just ridiculous.
I want aggro sword to be in a state where you actually can say, I want staircase in this deck.
Yeah, right now it's too fast for you to even be playing the staircase.
Yeah, exactly. I just want.
I mean, you
I
don't
want,
exactly
like, a
have
des-
to. Sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
I just want a deck where you can say I actually have another game plan than just going face.
And I feel like that's the inherent problem with aggro sword. It's why it's so frustrating to lose to, because it's a cheap deck. Almost everyone's played it, and it's not satisfying to win with because you're just mindlessly clicking face unless you're playing the mirror, which I think is actually one of the hardest mirrors to play on ladder at the moment.
I feel like the mirror has a lot of nuances, but the thing about it is just that if somebody misses a drop, all those nuances go out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you miss a beat and your opponent just picks up the pace, then there's no reason you should win that matchup.
Which is
Or if
just
you have stuff like Angel of the Word that can actually go 2 for 1, then yeah, it's actually just free.
yeah,
I've seen a couple of the aggro sword lists that replace a 2-drop for Hedgehog and a 3-drop.
Yeah, Hedgehog
for,
and Angel of the Word, that's a
Angel of the
very
Word.
common mirror text.
Hedgehog is so strong. I was playing that in my mid-range sword, and
I saw one playing
Mm-hmm.
Whole Souled Swing.
the amount of times that my Hedgehog had 7 power was far more than you would think. That's all I'm saying.
2 times.
It might have been 2 times, but that's still far more than you would think,
I've seen a play where this guy had like 2 hedgehogs on the board. He evolved one, cyclone bladed on the other one, and they both survived and had like a 21 damage OTK.
Oh yeah, that's
Or
wait, he
turn
gets like lethal on turn 5 in that video or some shit.
I've seen that too. That video is crazy.
I love those Japanese players like make videos and it's just like crazy stuff. There's like some crazy roach lethal, some there's a turn 4 D shift. Yeah, the hedgehog you mentioned, just stupid stuff that you would never even see, but just looks amazing.
Well, Sis, me and you were playing some pretty interesting games the other day.
Oh no. So actually, you just said, hey, let's just do stupid Star Phoenix control mirrors with no storm and wind conditions or anything. And honestly, I think more than anything, that turned into like a meta experiment.
It was entertaining.
I
we
think
so that,
I was looking at those lists and thinking, why aren't you running Zell?
he
Yeah,
was
no,
he was
that-
playing Zell after a while.
yeah,
We were
that was
playing.
the first thing that happened. Like the first person to actually break out of that metagame was just me that put in the Source of Storm.
Yeah, he
And
put in
then
Zell and Call of Cositis, so he had 13 damage storm.
and then I won every single game until Zero. He got what Windmills, HERS, and Call of Casitas again 13 damage storm.
But then you're just adding storm win conditions to the deck that
Well-
you said no storm win conditions.
No,
But no,
the card
my win
doesn't say
condition
storm.
ended up being the Earthshock Ogres. I ended up winning
Oh.
with Earthshock Ogres.
Yeah, but again, it's just
Classic.
like just heavy burn damage from hand.
Yeah, it's burn damage. Reach is just very strong in Shadowverse, is what we
We,
learned.
we were never able to create a tempo win condition.
Well, of course, Reach is very strong. You only have 20 health, so it's like
Yeah.
you hit face with an evolved Quick Blader, and that's over 20% of their health, or it's over 10%.
Yeah, it's
almost
quite a bit of
20%.
damage.
It's 15% actually, if I knew how to do math.
Well, now you do. There you go.
Like-
Today we learned.
Evolved one drop is just 15% of your health.
Yeah, no, just a novice trooper by itself is just that's 10% gone.
Yeah,
Just
it's
one
it's so
beat
little
in.
health that any damage that can potentially go face is just so strong.
It's a little spooky, but it lets us get all these cool win conditions like our Roach OTKs.
Yeah, that's true.
True. I
Can't
mean,
deny that.
the game's designed around it, but there's a
Mhm.
lot of things like.
It makes the game very high paced, but it ends up being very punishing if you miss your drops.
It's also very punishing if you don't have good Evo turns.
Mm-hmm.
Because the evolve mechanic favors trading so much, so you're kind of forced to through these tempo swing turns, just to evolve and trade, evolve and trade, evolve and trade. And if you miss an evolve, or you don't have a good evolve, or your opponent manages to clear your board well without an evolve,
Yeah,
then you're
it-
just like, what do I do? I lost the board. I lost the game. Because if you leave something on the board in a game where a one drop does 10% of your health, then you lose.
well, you don't exactly lose, but yeah, it can get a little dicey.
I just love like when I just like playing Take Two where it's just all tempo. I wish that's actually something that could happen in Constructed.
I want them to
It
start
would
making
take too
more
many-
cards like Barbarossa and Ouroboros and Star Phoenix, and bring us
Mhm.
into like this slow, grindy meta game where we're just we're trying to outvalue each other and just sneak in our big tempo turn.
But I mean, there are like two decks that have actually been able to successfully do that. That has been very meta, and those are Neutral Rune and Mid Shadow.
What about Snowmen?
Right.
What do you think? Where do you think Snowmen fits in that?
I think
Well, yeah,
Snowman's an
but-
aggro deck more than anything.
But Snowman
Snowman's a fun
has like 30 damage storm, and if you ignore their board for one turn, then you also take 30 damage fizz. It's a burn deck.
Yeah,
The
Snow,
deck is just burn.
just
Burns
by
are
leaving
really,
up two Snowmen, they have potential for so much reach. It's insane.
Yeah, Snowmen are just it's the same. It's like it's. I want to say that it's like pseudo ambush in the sense that ambush is pseudo storm, because if you leave it up, if you can't deal with it, then it just deals a lot of damage phase. That accumulates over time, and that just wears you down.
Snowman is just an OTK deck that
Not an OTK deck.
It's,
I mean, when you're dealing 30 damage to their faces, it's an OTK.
I
Yeah,
think
but you only do that
it's
like
fair to say
20%
that
of the games.
Can OTK if you get like nut draws into it, but
it's
doesn't
like
have.
it's like how sometimes you can be at 3 HP and Dragon will hit you for 13 with the Bahamut.
Yeah, with Sahaba Hassel.
Oh man, those are the good old days.
I don't know, but like Zell into Evo Ouroboros was like the hypest play in the game.
That was actually stupid. Ouroboros was pretty
I
good.
thought I love Ouroboros' attack animation. I always thought it looked so cool.
I just
Hmm.
loved Ouroboros locking people out of the game. Just like, oh, this is the 6th turn in a row I played Ouroboros.
I've milled 4 cards because I just keep replaying the Ouroboros.
Yeah,
But
then you never feel bad about playing the Ouroboros. It's always the best play.
When I was
Now it's not anymore.
when
No, it's not. But before it's a demonic strike on a reverse demonic strike on a 8/4 body.
When I played a lot of Hearthstone, I played so much Control Warrior, and Ouroboros was just like a super armor up for me. So I would just play that every single turn, and it felt so good. It felt so natural.
I mean, the first like semi-major tournament I ever won was off of Zell Ouroboros.
Just
Like,
when
I
he
didn't
yells now, jump
even
into the
play
wind.
Bahamut in that deck. It was when you start to tilt,
Wait,
even if you're the
Asher,
one playing it.
Asher, weren't you like the first person to actually introduce Wrath Drake?
It was in a deck list in Rage, but I was the first person in the West to play it.
Yeah, and then like I think Lucette every tournament after he just played that.
Yeah, I seem to remember Lucette liking Ratrix. Lucette was also playing Angel of the Words in his Haven before.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
He
that's
played
so
that-
good.
He played that same list every single time he went to HJ. He didn't change it ever.
And it worked
Because
so
That
well.
was a
You
He
can
topped
JCG
2
deck
HGs
from
back to
the
back.
very early days of like TOTG.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can Angel Ping the Ouroboros from the Banish range. I think that's actually the only reason he ran it in his Haven deck.
Yeah,
don't-
that is the reason that was.
I don't know if that was the only reason, but that was certainly a good reason to
I mean,
do it.
Prince of Catacombs was also kind of huge, but I think that's like the biggest reason.
Turns
Right.
out 1 damage pings are pretty good against Shadow.
1 damage pings are just really good in this game.
I mean, I think now so more than ever. I don't think it has been like that in the past as much. I think especially like in TOTG, we get introduced to the whole shadow shenanigans. In Wonderland Dreams, it's like you have the neutral cards who just wants to value trade, so you always beats out 1 HP.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like a meta where everything is just either tiny or aggro or whatever.
Yeah, we're living in a world where Fire Lizard runs rampant. That's an interesting world.
Mhm.
I think you can actually identify the reason that 1 damage pings are so good in this game. And it's that it again goes back to the Evo mechanic through these tempo swing turns. You're constantly evoing things over each other that are within 1 play point, usually within 1 play point of stats of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So you have things that are left with, one health, because
1 or
they're just
2
1
HP,
play
yeah.
point of stat over each other.
The Evo mechanic is actually one of my favorite mechanics in every card game I've ever played. I think that mechanic is so fun. It makes the game speed up in such an interesting way.
I just like the fact that you can play a deck that actually isn't constructed to have tempo swings, but it just automatically does because you have the Evo mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
It allows for so much freedom in deck building and in gameplay as well.
I think it's both a good and a bad thing, like Sis said, freedom in deck building. But also you have the decks that kind of you build to not have tempo swings, just get them for free.
But I think like some decks actually benefit from this in a good way, and then there's other decks, aggro sword, that it's kind of toxic as a tool for.
I think
That's
there's
just 2 damage.
so what? I didn't get to that.
Aggro Sword, when you have your opponent's essentially at 16 life to start, or 14 if going second.
Yeah, it just Evo's a lot of damage.
Evos never go for trade. They're
Yeah,
just
that's-
always face.
I think there's a lot of potential. I'm not saying that it's like missed potential necessarily, or like I dislike the way it is now, but there's a lot of potential with the evolve mechanic in a game where you had more health or slower decks on average, slower cards.
I also think
With
like
more
if you
ways
have
to
more
interact with the Evo points.
I think the more cards they add that are similar to Aaron, like I think Aaron specifically out of all the Evo restoration cards, because Aaron is also a ward that slows down the game.
but Aaron is also a card that does everything.
Aaron is insane, but
Aaron is also like the best card in Forest at the moment.
Aaron's strong. But like what she slows down the game, she gives you an Evo. Like I think she's such a cool mechanic. And I feel
But
like
she's also if you're in a slow game, she speeds it up. Like she gets you an Evo back, you get back to your Roach lethal turn,
hmm
and yeah, I genuinely think she just does everything in that deck.
Like, can you imagine if what's the name of the card? Is it Elder Tortoise? It's like a dragon 2/4
Yeah,
for 4.
Yeah,
two
yeah.
4/4 cost to give you an evil point of your own overflow.
Imagine if that had Ward. How good that card would be. I don't know if it would actually be that good, but I think it'd be
Even then.
significantly better.
Even then, I've seen it occasionally.
Yeah, I've seen it too. I play against Zero.
I've seen it. I don't know how legitimate it is the times I've seen it though.
What about
Never
Sir, what about
legitimate, but
Cetus?
it's a card people play.
I lost to it a couple times because I wasn't playing around him getting an Evo point, and he just had one. And I was like, what do I do?
So you just had the 2 damage reach?
Yeah, and
That's
I'm like,
that's so cheeky.
or like, I go to this big, like, wide play or something, or play a big thing, and I'm like, he can't Evo over this. Well,
What do you think about this? Is something that I thought of the other day because I was writing card of the day, and I decided to write about Humpty Dumpty for card of the day. And Humpty Dumpty, I was thinking, it clears a lot of boards right now. I don't think it's
Doesn't-
actually. I really want to hope that's the card that's never gonna make its way into competitive play.
it'll kill everything on a board except PDK.
It won't kill the PDK.
Yeah, and that's exactly what a PDK player wants.
And Breath of the Salamander does the same thing, and also potentially kills the PDK if they
I
don't
don't
bring
think
it.
Humpty Dumpty is
I-
not this expansion. He's not seeing any play.
Yeah,
I'm
I think he's
alright with
bad
that.
because he
See
requires the
any
Evo.
I
Your
would
evos are
just-
too valuable right now.
Yeah, that's true. Humpty Dumpty's the type of card that once they start making more errands, you heard it here first, boys.
But I mean, what Humpty Dumpty does is he removes your board, your opponent's board, and gives the initiative back to the opponent.
He's
So
like
unless you're
a turn 4 Themis' decree.
Yeah, but again, gives initiative back to your opponent. If you are not playing against an opponent who's running out of cards, you are never going to be happy playing that.
Yeah, especially since Humpty Dumpty costs you an Evo, as opposed to
Yeah,
Themis'.
the Themis is good because it's a high cost card in a class that has a lot of draw, and you don't expend more resources than one card, which
Also a
so-
class that is able to maintain things on board through the Themis.
Yeah.
Be it an Aegis or amulets that are going to pop the next
Mhm.
turn.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. So, like, unless you have just your whole board survive a Humpty Dumpty, which, again, you're not happy doing because you're going to take your damage, it's just never going to be a good card for you.
I want to imagine there's a world where Humpty Dumpty does something, but I don't think it's ever actually going to happen, and I have no complaints about that.
It's like you sit there with Dragomir, you're just trading back and forth the Roperuses, and you're just giving them back Roperus initiative every single turn.
Paul
Yeah,
Washer
the-
says Lisa Humpty.
Lisa Humpty
Lisa
Dumpty,
Humpty.
you heard it here first. Oh my
Paul
goodness,
Washer
that's a
loves
crazy
Lisa.
turn 6 combo.
If you see that win in GE, you can credit Pot Washer.
Watcher is always just.
Why do I
Genesis
think
with
I
Lisa.
saw that, like, a picture of that on Reddit the other day, of somebody playing Lisa and Humpty Dumpty?
That sounds like a Reddit play.
Maybe you did. I don't go to the Shadowverse, I bet it much. It's kind of.
I have to go to it almost every day when I write the card of the day, except when I'm just lazy and I don't do it.
If I see Humpty Dumpty Lisa, I'm generally okay.
At least that's a creative, interesting play, right? It's not
But I mean, that's
complicated.
like that's turn 6. Why are you afraid of that on turn 6?
I don't think
I'm
there's
not.
ever a world where
What-
anyone's afraid of
what-
Humpty
what-
Dumpty
what
on
do you
turn
do?
6.
You played Dust Breath? Oh no. Pain.
It's like worst case scenarios. If they do that after you play like a Council of Card Knights, you feel kind of bad. Then hit them in the face with an Alvida's command.
Yeah, and then they have a 5/5 board. Like, okay, threatening. Ooh. What they can actually spend that Evo point and still be threatening.
Control Blood, maybe if you're running.
Control it, Lysa, and okay, I see.
Well, okay, not with Liza specifically, but I'm thinking like
Do you want to run Galretto?
Galretto. Yeah, maybe.
Galretto
Galretto.
to protect your Humpty Dumpty.
But does that work? No, because
No,
Galretto
no,
gives that
it's
target
not, it's
ability.
It's only targets, yeah.
Yeah,
Spawn the
Control
Abyss
Blood,
doesn't
they
get
don't even
killed by
care.
Humpty Dumpty.
but like if you're
Rev costs
running a
4.
hard control list with like Olivia, maybe. But
Dude, what if you Humpty Dumpty Nyx? There you go.
There you go. Those are
Okay.
your game-winning combos.
we're
7
gonna run
mana.
Humpty Dumpty, and we're gonna run 3 of Moriana the Bejeweled in every blood deck.
I feel like we've talked too long about Humpty Dumpty.
You can't never talk too long about Humpty Dumpty.
I mean,
Uh,
your
have-
Evos are very valuable in Control Blood, so you'll never play Humpty Dumpty in there.
Your Evos are just very valuable in basically all the decks, because you only get 2 or 3. It's not like you have a ton of them. And you're playing creatures in basically all your decks.
It doesn't matter if a card does anything when you evo it. The fact that it gets rushed, that is absurdly powerful.
Yeah, it's Russian just the stats. It's crazy.
The fact that you can do something that your opponent is not expecting, or I mean they are expecting it, but they cannot play around it. The fact that you can gain back initiative, that's what matters.
Yeah, like if you're playing a game and you can force your opponent to spend the first Evo, you start thinking, I feel a lot safer now.
When you're up an Evo point on your opponent, it's
Oh, like where
always
it's 2 to 1 or something like that.
or
Like if you're going second and you force the other guy to Evo first.
And you
That
have
always
3 and
feels
they have
good.
1, that's crazy. It's usually pretty hard for them. Unless you were just in the awkward spot on your turn 4 where you wanted to play something in Evo and you just didn't have anything to Evo. And then that feels really bad.
How do y'all feel about Control Blood right now?
I
I
haven't
hate
played
control
it.
decks.
I miss like Cool Blood in general. I'm hoping that there might be something there, cuz what about Control Blood particularly makes it bad right now? I can't exactly think
I
of the
think it's
reason.
an incredibly slow start on ladder. Is kind of not great against Aggro Sword, because the turn that you want to be playing pass 1, Baphomet on 2, Blood Moon on 3 into like Righteous Devil, like if Sword curves, you're just gonna die.
Yeah.
But then you're already at a disadvantage going first.
Yeah, you need like your Vampiric Kisses against them.
But in tournament play, maybe like Revelation might be the best answer in the game to PDK.
Revelation's a great answer to PDK. It's for like the occasional people playing Sword and still playing the Konoichi Masters. It's a really good answer to that.
it's
But it's like I think it is staircase nullifies the fact that revelation exists.
That might be true.
Control Blood is
Yeah.
strong, but the problem with it is the other decks, they have come back mechanics to getting revved.
The other decks still have win conditions. Like I feel like Control Blood still doesn't have like a legitimate win condition.
Spawn's
You
okay.
have
PDK, they
Yeah.
still just Forte you down. Like Forte's Genesis Dragons, they still kill you.
Yeah, I've taken
But,
to keeping.
Yeah, Blood has to actually turn a fast-paced game into a grindy game, and that's just not possible at the moment.
And it has to be able to safely make it to its turn 9 so it can start playing out its Temptress Vampires, which is so difficult to do right now in this day and age.
And if you play Temptress Vampire and you don't have an Evo, you can't kill a Genesis Dragon. You die to that Genesis Dragon.
Yeah, it's true. And if you even if you do have the Temptress and you have to Evo it into the Genesis, that still doesn't feel that good. You only healed 5 and you spent an Evo to deal with their 10 drop.
Which now you gave them back full board initiative again.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still in a losing position.
But like one thing is like Scarlet Saber, that card feels so strong whenever I play against it right now. Bane, like the big Bane units right now, the 2/5 when you're in Vengeance, what's that one called? The Devil of Vengeance.
Regis Devil.
Regis
Regis
Devil?
Devil, yeah. That one
We just
that
mentioned that one's name.
that one and Scarlet Saber, like they feel so hard to beat right now. With a lot of the decks I've been playing, like they'll play that and it'll 2-for-1 a lot of my cards. So
But
like
that's what the cards were created to do. Like they're made to 2-for-1 because they are a very slow play.
Well, I mean the Bane effect just alone before you get like the 2 damage off the Sabers. But that's true. They have that card has traditionally done that a lot. But
I really want Maelstrom Serpent to be a viable win condition for Blood.
I don't think it's gonna happen. I
Love
think it's
that
been
card.
so
Yeah, without buff, like when Baphomet was around and was an actual card, that was a thing that could happen. But now I just think that it's so out of reach.
Yeah, I mean, I played
a win condition against mid-range decks, but the only problem is the only real mid-range deck right now is PDK, which will just storm over you.
Snakes is actually like a pretty. if you can safely play it against PDK, it's a pretty
But
convincing win.
wouldn't you much rather have Spawn then?
But
Like,
imagine
once-
a situation in which you're safely playing Serpent against PDK
It just
while
doesn't,
in Vengeance.
it doesn't happen.
So
And that's another thing about Snakes is that you have to be in Vengeance for it to work.
I mean,
and if you do it with Moon, you only get 4 snakes. So it's like, eh.
well, only 20 power.
Yeah, but then
Oh,
they
no.
clear one and it's not lethal.
And then you have to start clearing away their 2/2s and their 2/1s and stuff like
Yeah,
that. And then you have to
Blood
die.
is never going to chip away at somebody's face because all your cards are single cards that are going to be desirable for your opponent to remove.
Yeah, everything
I guess
Blood
you say
has
Azazel.
right now is just like very reactive.
3 snakes is enough to do it just because of Temptress Vampire still exists as a card.
That's
True.
true.
Mhm.
You could also like
8-9 card.
Azazel.
But I mean, you're still in a situation where you need to get so many good cards in a row while fending off your opponent and them having no answers.
Like one of the things is like one of the main differences between control and aggro is like with aggro you just have to draw threats. With control you have to draw the right answers to their threats.
And then you have to direct that.
Yeah. You have to
It's
Most
just
of the
like
time
game
in a
plan is
control
more-
deck, you don't actually have to have a win condition for your opponent to concede on ladder.
No, sometimes your
Oh.
win condition can just be like, yeah, you ran out of cards and I've got a full grip and you're not I might not kill you for another couple turns, but you're certainly not going to kill me.
But I mean, then we're in a situation where you're still playing an answer game, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and if
Like-
sometimes if they just drop their big win condition, they just draw into their Oz or something. Suddenly the control deck isn't as good of a spot it was a moment ago.
Mhm. And it's also like it's a big matchup thing. You're playing a deck that has to hit into a certain matchup.
Mhm.
And that's something I've always hated. I've never been able to play Aegis in the past because I just ran into D-shift on ladder and I just like feel my will to play the game just go away.
I feel like the thing with this expansion was Blood just really did not get much of anything. I
I
feel
don't
like
think.
They-
Jormungand is like pretty lackluster. I think
Hey,
Ursa-
hey, let's forget about that. Jormungand does not feel lackluster. It doesn't feel top tier, and that's because aggro sword and BDK is around, but
Mhm.
I think that deck legitimately has potential.
If Aggro
Yeah,
Sword and PDK get nerfed, Jormungand tier 1 confirmed.
I don't think tier
Yeah.
1, but I think I'm might go as far as to say 1.5.
See,
Do you guys want to talk about
Tier 0 confirmed.
Do you guys want to talk about what potential nerfs might be?
I mean, I want to say Ephemera.
I
That's not
would
enough.
not mind an Ephemera nerf at all. I think that card is so silly on the play.
I think that like if we're talking aggro sword, we need both Ephemera and Centaur Vanguard.
There will be times where I'll be on the draw and my opponent will just like play out Ephemera and just get a single buff,
Mhm.
and I'll be able to evolve something in and I'll have the board and I know I lost from that point forward, even though I'll have the board for the rest of the game.
Mhm. Yeah, they just and like on 4 and 5 they just toss down double Ephemera and then you just play 1 or 2 storm units next turn. You just die and cry.
Once they have two Ephemeras, it gets so silly. The amount of reach damage they could have, and all you just hear is "you can get this one" over and over again as you not so slowly die. You just get
Yeah,
beaten
and-
into the dirt.
At least
And
the
yet you
card
don't
is
care to
highly
touch.
thematic. It's very well executed thematically.
It is.
She's slacking off. She's hiding in ambush and saying, "You can get this one. Just you do it."
Yeah.
But she's not slacking.
Then when you attack with her, she's like, "Look, I'm working." See?
Yeah, it's not, like you would rather not attack with Ephemera, right?
I mean, I don't mind attacking with Ephemera when it gets me lethal.
Honest, but I mean that's still a sliding move, right? You just take credit for everybody else's work.
So, what do you think about the precedent that Cygames has set? That every month they're just gonna nerf whatever the highest play rate thing is, the highest win rate thing
Did
is.
they
I don't
actually
think-
say it's going to be the highest win rate?
But it's kind of what it's ending up being,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no, that's what they've shown. Like every single time, it's we looked at Shadow Locks and we see this is pretty good.
Or-
They probably
So-
have their
Look at
own
Shadow
internal
Logs, they have
records.
Like
Yeah, I know,
nerfing
I know.
something because it's good is different than nerfing something because it's unfair or unbalanced.
But
or
didn't they do that for some card last expansion or last season? They nerfed some
Snow
card
White?
that wasn't like top tier, but
Snow White?
people just
they
didn't
nerfed
like it.
Ouroboros like way after the fact.
They nerfed Ouroboros before Dragon was going to be able to be playable.
I remember the Ouroboros nerf just felt really out of left field.
It was like a preemptive nerf because Dragon got really good right after that nerf. And
Yeah,
it was
but, like-
imagine if Dragon had Ouroboros during that. It's like,
But it's like you're not even sad. Like you don't consider Ouroboros a bad card. You just don't consider it a card that you would automatically include in every single Dragon deck and play in every single matchup.
and I think that's good. Like that's good design. You don't
I
want a
think the
card that's just like
Psychics
auto
have been
include.
like on point with their nerfs. Some 90% of all nerfs they do are just good.
Okay, but
How they've done nerfs on some cards, I have not liked.
No,
Like,
I'm saying they're
Absolutely
definitely
terrible.
necessary. I just think that like conceptual nerfs.
Do you think they're gonna do anything about Test of Strength again? Like that card's
Uh,
not very problematic right now, but Test
Pot
of
Washer
Strength to
pointed
me is such an interesting card.
Yeah. Potwasher said it in chat. Test of Strength is the card you were thinking of a second ago. 0.
Yeah, that's actually
Test of Strength.
I think Test of Strength is fine. Like it has its niche, like unfair thing with Mordecai.
Zargalis.
And I
Plays a
think
1-up in
honestly,
Nephthys so you don't die to Roach.
like that's the point of the game. That like if you get there against Nep or Dark Alice, like you've pretty much lost anyways. And it feels lame, yeah. I mean, run Odin, I guess.
there are so many answers to amulets. Actually, it's not like they don't exist. We just choose to
I
not
mean,
play them
you're
because
saying
amulets
there's a
aren't
lot
that
of
prominent.
amulets. I don't know if I agree with that one.
There's
really
there's
hated the Test
the
of Nerf. So,
I'm pretty sure at least every class has at least some halfway decently statted mid drop.
How does-
Yeah, every class has a couple.
How does Forest deal with that? How does Forest deal with Test of Strength?
Forest.
Forest.
I know Forest has a way to do it.
I'm
Top
fairly
left?
certain that Forest has some spell that destroys an amulet, but I could be wrong
Okay,
about that.
okay.
it's a
They
3-mana
have
one, I think.
they have a card
Execution.
that does it because every single class is execution. You have a card that
Forest
you
has a
actually
3-mana 3/1 that is if you play 2 other spells. this turn,
Carnivorous
destroy an
Flower, or what's it called, Carnivorous Mangrove, something like that.
amulet. It can destroy amulets.
Yeah, but do you
It has
actually have a
playable
card?
stats.
Do you have a card that you would want to play? Like you would like to play Morala, you would like to play Bahamut, but
But the thing is, we don't live in a world where amulets just run rampant. If we were in a world where amulets were running rampant and people were playing more cards like what's that 9-drop dragon spell that they have? Dragon Amulet.
Polyphonic Roar.
Orb
Yeah, if
Dragon.
people were playing like more polyphonic roars and people were playing
Oh,
just more amulets in general, like 5 amulets in a deck, you'd probably start seeing the carnivorous plant a little bit more.
But even in
Yeah.
Wonderland, when every dragon deck was playing polyphonic, people just ran execution.
Because that's only because execution will kill a follower.
yeah, and we
That,
we
like,
choose.
it's
we
only
just
the
amulets
Alright,
are
so-
only being played in dragon.
and whatnot.
You can look at Shadow for a pretty good example of this. And like in Nephthys, for example, even when Nephthys was being played as 2, 3, 7, 8, Shadow has a 3-drop called Goetia Mage that is fanfare. I don't know if it's Necromancy.
I think it's
But it
necromancy
has-
4.
It has an
Yeah.
effect, destroy an enemy amulet. And no one was playing it because
I've
you don't want
seen
to play
that card a little more than I feel comfortable saying.
I don't think I've ever seen that card on ladder.
I've
have
never seen
that
it
card
played
a
against me.
lot on ladder, at least 20 matches, and for a card like that, 20 matches is too much.
And a huge problem with the amulet options that are in the game is that there's so many countdown amulets in the game with last words that you don't
Mhm.
really want to happen.
Yeah.
Like Beast Call Aria or Seraph. Like you're not gonna Goetia Mage as Seraph.
No, you don't want
Or-
to do that. That's a
Yeah.
losing
But
play.
when you consider the Goetia Mage in your
It's like-
deck, you just say, "Oh man, I really don't want to hit Sarah.
There's like
I
3
should
or
not put
4
this in my deck."
There's like 3 or 4 banish options for amulets in the game. It's
The
like
only neutral one is Odin,
Odin, yeah.
which
And then you have Lightning Blast.
there really aren't that
Ooh,
many
Lightning
ways to deal with
Blast.
countdown amulets.
Am I missing some? Or is there only those two?
There's Odin to deal with amulets. I know.
Petrification.
Yeah,
Petrification.
petrification will do it.
I think that there's another Runecraft card that's like completely unplayable.
Wait, there's
So
Rise of
it's-
Exorcism. That doesn't banish.
No,
yeah, I think they have a
it's-
spell that enhances.
like this-
Right of doesn't it enhance?
Yeah,
this
Rise of
spell?
Exorcism.
No, a way to or transform it. I think it's a 6-drop rune follower,
A
That
6-drop rune
requires-
follower.
right? And it gives them clay golem still.
Oh, I think I know the card you're talking about, actually.
Can we just like use Gobobot to find out?
We can probably do that.
I'm looking
Can we
for
do
it.
Runecraft? Is Gobobot
Shadow
not in
Witch.
our intro?
Shadow Witch.
Shadow Witch? I don't even
6
know
mana,
that.
5/5. Earthright. Transform an enemy follower or amulet into a clay golem.
That's insane.
It's
Do
worse.
you know what tag the snowman is? Is that considered a rune follower?
Yes.
Yes.
But forest cards can make snowmen. That's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, it's and rune cards can make
Just like-
zombies, which are still able to Shadowcraft.
Oh yeah, and those are I didn't.
Hey,
That's true.
Stella can make almost any craft.
Yeah, Stella can just make
Stella's
every craft cards.
Stella's something.
Yeah, Stella's cute, so it's okay. Do
But
whatever she wants.
Forest gives just domain to your opponent
Mm-hmm.
in Lily.
See, they're nice
There you
about
go.
it. They're so generous, giving people free
Here's somebody
snowmen.
else in Runecraft, right? Or the same thing with me to generate Bull gives your opponent Runecraft followers.
But what
It gives them
what I wanted to
free
get back
interaction.
to,
Mhm.
what I want to get back to what I was trying to say earlier that we kind of segued away from is
Mhm.
the precedent that nerfing every month, despite whether things are actually OP. Because you can make the argument that yeah, PDK is the best deck in the game, but is its relative power level compared to like what Spawn was or Neutral was in general for the entirety of Wonderland Dreams? Is it the same?
I wonder
I
how.
mean,
I'm actually
how
curious
do
how
you think-
PDK would do versus like the old spawn lists.
I
Like,
want to know how it would
Absolutely
do against the old
destroyed.
mid-range
It wouldn't even be close. Like, Jesus Christ, were those decks busted. I remember
Well,
seeing a
like,
picture on
mid-range
Twitter that had
Shadow,
like
back when you
6
could
cards
rotate
nerfed
your
from
deck
that
in
deck.
mid-range too.
I'm not talking about like win rates and play rates. I mean like just if you were playing the decks versus each other or playing against them,
Mm-hmm.
how would it
Alright, I
feel?
guess it's time to boot up cockatrice.
I mean, we could technically, I guess, but
Spawn would just crush it like 90% of the games.
right, and that's my point. Comparatively to what has been OP in the past, what's tier 1 now isn't actually that bad. Yeah, it's kind of annoying to lose the PDK sometimes, but only because I have to sit there and listen to Care to Touch 40 times.
I think that Aggro Sword is up there, but I don't think PDK is nowhere near any of the OP decks that you're seeing.
I think Aggro Sword is much more frustrating to play against than PDK is.
I agree, but you have the entire community on Reddit and around, complaining about nerf PDK just because it's tier 1, and you
But
have
These are the
every
same
competitive
people that
player.
said nerf Aegis, okay? So I don't.
I mean, yeah, true.
But I think like
So my argument just completely destroyed that.
The thing about PDK is it's such a bully to like the decks that want to be playing big mid-rangey kind of cards.
PDK isn't oppressive to like the current decks that are out,
Mm-hmm.
but any mid-range deck you ever try to play, you look at it and say, "Yeah, I just lose to PDK.
Like
yeah, that's
look at the card.
But
Full
that's
I
Page.
can't outvalue Prime Dragon."
This is the point I'm making here, right? It's not OP compared to like what old Spawn Blood or Phantom Cap Neutral Blood was back in the day. It's not OP in the same way. It just feels unfair to play against sometimes because you have to deck build with in mind. I just can't. I can't beat PDK with this, so why would I try to play it? So, I think setting the precedent that they're just nerfing what's strong versus what feels unfair, and they've done some of each, and I think it's an interesting conversation to have that you weigh nerfing every month or letting the meta develop on its own, ties time because if they don't nerf anything this month and you let the cards as they are now go on for 3 months, it's highly likely that another deck will rise to the top and that someone else will pick up something and say, hey, this beats PDK. That's how you get innovation. And I think it's not necessarily a good thing to nerf every month.
No, I liked the every 6-week nerf. That was a lot better to me.
What I would prefer that they did, rather than doing multiple nerfs every month, I would actually much prefer if they did a single card a week. That way you don't change anything too drastically, but you just make small tweaks now and then. You let the metagame kind of work its way out.
The only problem with that is that's a logistics nightmare.
Yeah.
Lost this again. Rip.
Whenever Sizz cuts out of his video cuts out, it makes the like the overlay look weird, and then as soon as he comes back, it goes back to normal. And there he is. Sizz is back, and he's gone again.
And he's gone
Ladies
again.
and gentlemen, the champion of Denmark is gone.
Gotta get some peanut butter.
Gone to get some peanut butter.
For 80 krone, by the way, in case you're wondering about the title of the stream.
I heard the price of peanut butter is quite expensive in Denmark.
Yeah, Sis hasn't bought any peanut butter in 2 years because of it.
And this
He
is
could
the
tell
man-
us
Sad
that-
thing.
this is
He
the
could
man
tell
who
us this
eats-
himself if he were here.
The man who eats peanut butter ice cream on stream in the World Championships.
Is he gone?
I don't know. Let's just go. Let's pretend Sizz isn't coming back for a little bit. Hopefully he'll make it back on.
He says his connection is dying.
Rip Sis.
R.I.P. Well, let's see. We're 45 minutes in. You guys have any other specific things you wanted to talk about?
You talk about the cards that you think are getting nerfed. I think that if they want to just nerf specific archetypes without hurting other decks, like if you nerf Ephemera, you hurt decks like Aggro Forest, which isn't an oppressive deck at all. Like, yeah, sometimes you can lose to it and it feels bad like any other aggro deck, but it's a fine deck. Like, they could nerf Roundtable Assembly to get 2 different commanders that cost 3.
I don't
you
like
can't
that
just
Roundtables
double
is allowed
Juliet.
to just pull 2 Juliets. I think that's very silly.
If they make it so it can pull a Juliet and something else, sure. Or
Yeah,
a Juliet.
I think a change on the wording of Roundtable is a definite, I think needs to happen. By the way, Zero, you can change the layout so that we're
Yeah, I'm
back
doing that
into
right now.
squares.
I'm working on it.
By doing that,
Unfortunately, Sizz will not be able to rejoin us.
well, that doesn't even hurt like the mid-range deck. If anything, it might make it better.
Uh,
Like,
what you
So-
doing with the overlay there, Zero?
Dude, I don't even quite know. It's doing that weird thing where you remember how earlier it was showing your like 2 of your own faces on the same camera? It's doing that thing again.
Oh, I see that on my end. Shouldn't be on your end though, shouldn't it?
It's just kind of happening. All right, so this is what we got. This is how we live now.
I'm just in this tiny box.
You're just in this tiny box because if I extend it out any more, it just starts showing like a weird duplicated version of your face.
So wait, which way should I go this
Yeah,
way?
there we go.
Or
That
like
works well.
Yeah,
There
down here?
you go. Yeah, right there.
Hell yeah, dude. I just lower my chair. All right, I'm here.
All right, perfect.
so I think that if they do change Roundtable to say 2 different commanders,
I
it also makes the Mars like White General combo super consistent.
it makes it pulling
It's
like
100.
it makes it more likely for you to
100%
pull
get
Romeo
that.
and Juliet, which I feel is like super flavorful and the reason they made those cards too.
Yeah, true. I'm super on the fence about a Sybil nerf. I think the card is definitely like way too strong because it's like, it single-handedly holds Dragon together.
I think if you do a Sybil nerf, it has to happen right at the end of the expansion, right before the new one comes out, so they can give Dragon new toys to make up for losing Sybil.
I also feel that they might not nerf Sybil ever just because it was a face card of the pack, and people get really mad about that.
Mm-hmm.
True.
I spent money specifically to get
That's true.
this card,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
and now
would
you nerf it, and I can't get files for this.
I would like to see a Sybil nerf just to see some more design space. Like, I really like the concept of what if Dragon just had like a 3-mana removal spell that also ramped. And I feel like they can't give Dragon a card like that if they have so much other strong ramp. Like, we haven't got when's the last expansion Dragon has gotten a ramp card? It was
Sybil.
Tempest of the Gods, right?
It was Sybil.
Yeah.
And before Sybil's release, Dragon was meme. In its entirety, was not played. Yeah, the card single-handedly holds every Dragon deck together because it allows you to ramp safely through mid-game.
It allows you to ramp. It's a huge body. It heals you. Man, that card. Like if you just go on turn 10, you drop 2 of those, and they don't have an answer, you win the game it wins the game by itself.
I don't remember where I saw what I'm about to quote to you. I think it was on Reddit somewhere. Someone was doing an analysis of why is Sybil busted versus another card that does a similar thing. And what he outlined is he said,
What card was doing that similar thing?
Wizardess of Oz.
Wizardess of Oz, yes.
Oh, yeah, that was a Reddit
So-
post. That was like yesterday or 2 days ago. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
this.
And I think I made a very good point. Is that Sybil's all upside. It does 3 things, all of which are upside.
Mhm.
And Wizardess does 3 things, one of which is a downside. And it balances the card innately.
I don't know if I necessarily think Wizardess of Oz is balanced 100%, but I'm very different on that. I have a very different opinion on that card compared to a lot of other people.
It's a very Hearthstone card in Shadowverse.
Yeah,
It's fun.
I dislike that
I-
card.
Draw a bunch
I
of
agree
random
with that.
cards. If they're lethal, change their cost to 1.
If they're lethal, change their cost to 1.
I think that Sybil needs to get nerfed, but it needs to be at a time, so right before an expansion, where they
Yeah,
print something powerful enough to
Mr.
make it so
Hopsinka.
it doesn't just die.
Mr. Hopsinka in our chat pointed it out that similarly to Sybil, Wizards of Oz really limits design space in RuneCraft because they have to be careful with what they release.
Yeah, like you see, what's the high roll that they're playing right now? They're playing the thing that summons 2 Conjure Golems and gives them +1/+1 if you have Earthright. What's that called? Twin Guardians?
Yeah,
So,
Like
yeah.
they play that. Like I'm playing right now an Earth Rune list that I didn't play all too much. I was playing it on ladder, but I had like a pretty good win rate with this list, and I was just playing 2 of those to high roll into, and I found that to be such a silly mechanic, but it's very strong.
Can I respond to Charlie Quinn in the chat real fast? He says that Wizardess of Oz's downside can be an upside when they just don't care about having spell cards, and that's the point. It forces you to play the card. It forces the card to become very strong in certain archetypes, but you're not going to play the card in D shift. Right?
Wizardess of Oz doesn't have a downside because the game ends before she dies. I mean, that's not always true, but like,
I mean, aside from Zero Salt about the card, the card's downside forces you to play it in an archetype where it's very strong.
but how often is
And-
its
and nothing
downside
else.
does its downside actually become relevant? Is the question.
Not often, because you don't play it in situations that it could be. I will be right back.
its downside does become relevant if you play it on 6 and you draw 2 spells.
Yeah,
Oh,
it becomes relevant
now I
then.
lose 2 cards.
Then it'll be
But,
relevant.
okay,
Or
still
like
got-
sometimes it'll become relevant when you play it and you hit like 2 mutagenic bolts and a dance to death and you can't cast them all. But then that was just because you kind of you low rolled a little bit there.
So there is like a downside to Wizardess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just all
Yeah. Well, I mean, but the thing is, like, you can technically say Sybil has a downside because Sybil has the clause where she doesn't have an effect if you play her before turn 5. And there are lots of games where there have been turn 4s where I could play her, and I would love to be able to play her, and I can't. So she
Oftentimes-
does have a downside. It's just a lot less pronounced than Wizardess of Oz's is.
Okay, so I'm gonna make the argument that oftentimes I tempo out Sybil, especially playing PDK mirrors. I tempo out Sybil on turn 4 when I have 5 mana a lot.
Mm-hmm. And I think, like, the fact that she doesn't heal until you're in overflow is also a downside. Like, the games that you want to heal the most, the games where that heal is really gonna mean the most are the games where you're not gonna have it.
where you need to have an Ayla die or
Yeah.
play an Oracle.
The
But if you're
games
going
where
second,
you need
You
that.
can't play an Oracle.
Mm-hmm. So
If you go
I think Sybil has a downside. It's just a lot less pronounced than Wizardess of Oz's is.
No, Charlie in chat, Mr. Charlie Quinn, I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying, but that's also the point I'm trying to make, is that you play her in situations where she's good and very good, and because you don't play her in D shift to draw more cards, obviously, because you don't want to banish your D shifts.
Actually, people did play it in D shift when Spawn was a thing.
Yeah, they
You
were playing
played
it with
that
the
plus
Wonders
Winter
Caprice.
With Caprice, yeah, I remember that. And I was gonna say something else about it, and I forgot what it was just now. So I'll get back to you.
So then all of a sudden your sort caches now cost 1 mana, which is huge.
Oh, okay. So what I was gonna say about it is the comparison to Sybil, right? Because it has the downside that you can pretty much play it only in its archetype where it's very strong. Sybil is played in literally every dragon deck, except for maybe Face Dragon, which is like tier at the moment.
But Sybil, not Sybil. Rune has
Sybil's
a
just
lot more
auto-include.
Rune has a lot more archetypes than Dragon has. Like PDK and Ramp Dragon are a lot more similar than some people might give it credit to being. Because like
No,
you,
I
you
agree.
can,
They're
you can safely
similar.
get away with playing Bahamut's in your PDK.
No, I do. I play 3 Bahamut, 2 Zeus in my PDK.
But like if you look at how many Rune archetypes will play Oz, it's quite a bit. It's not like
Most.
Oz only sees playing like 1 or 2 lists. She sees playing neutral. She saw playing in dirt.
Like-
More to the point, she sees play in follower-heavy rune lists.
Well, because she's a good follower. A 4/5 for 5 is good, and followers get better when you have other followers to go with them.
When she was seeing play in D shift, that's us right there. That's a completely spell based deck.
But that
Yeah,
was
it was
also
still
when the
seeing
card
play.
had come out and people were just experimenting with it. I think. I don't know if people are people still doing that nowadays.
It's very rare now, but people are doing it because it was a way to answer Spawn. And then it sped up your game clock significantly. Because if you get a 1 mana sorcery cache or a 1 mana K-Glow, sometimes that's enough.
Yeah. And then they would caprice the Oz, right? So they'd be able to just do them late. They'd be able to do their 1 mana spells later on too.
I don't know if you remember Zero, but at the end of last expansion, I was playing with what I was designing for tournament play. It was a hard control rune list. It wasn't like D shift or anything. It was just a bunch of Earthrights and control stuff, and then it topped off with like it had Wizardess of Oz's and Winter's Caprice in it. And its win condition was Prince of Darkness into a 0-cost Wizardess off of a what do you call it?
And then you get the thing that makes them at 1 HP, and then you disses them.
Yeah.
That's such a cool win condition. You have never shown me this deck. That sounds like it worked very little, but it sounds very cool.
Oh no, it actually worked reasonably well. I had Dom and
really?
Sis testing it for me, and I think everyone went fairly even with it.
That's pretty sick.
And I won several games with that deck, just because I had so much draw in the deck that I literally drew my entire deck, so I couldn't not get the Prince of Darkness combo down.
It was very similar to Queen Shift.
It was very similar to Queen Shift, except instead of a D shift with Queen, it was running it wasn't running the entire like Saha top end that thing runs, or that I've seen it run before, and it was running Prince of Darkness, Queen of the Dread Sea, and Wizardess of Oz. And it was something I was building to counter Control Blood, specifically. I was running Spellbook Decryption in that deck. It was spicy.
Spellbook Decryption. That sounds super spicy.
You get that thing with Wizardess, 1 mana, draw 3 cards. Draw your entire deck. I'm telling you, it's super good.
I'm telling you, it's broken. But now you get to just play Concentration instead of Spellbook Decryption.
Yeah, and Concentration heals you. OP.
Yeah, Concentration's pretty strong. I like that card a lot. Well,
I like the card. I just don't want to play Dirt Room.
Guys, we are creeping up at an hour here. So, what do you say we start wrapping this up?
Sure.
So I'm gonna drop these in Twitch chat. We got a link to our Discord for those of you who don't follow us on Discord. I'm also gonna be putting those in the show notes, or not in the show notes, rather, in the description on YouTube for those of you listening on YouTube. If you hang out with us on our Discord, highly recommend it. We love to help people out. We love to play Shadowverse, talk about fun stuff just in general. You can also find us on Twitter, which I'm going to be shilling in a second. While I'm doing that, if you guys have any shoutouts you want to give, this is the time for it.
I want to give a shout out to Jackie, our newest member of HSK, for acing his test today.
He had a test today?
Yeah, I told you he said in internal. He aced
Right.
it.
Oh man, good job, Jackie. Jackie's the man. And
Got a 0 back. Okay.
Azure, you have any shout outs you want to give?
So I'd like to thank you guys for having me on today.
Thank you for coming
Been
on
fun.
such short notice.
Yeah, no problem. So my team, Team Disaster, who did really well this past weekend in NANGE.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you guys crushed it this time.
we didn't
around.
really say it, but big thumbs up and congrats to Disastra. 6 of y'all in the top 8. Very impressive.
That's just insane. I'm actually gonna drop a link to the Disaster Discord as well in the description. Yeah, I'm allowed to give a link for this. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I think that's gonna be it for today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys in Twitch chat. A lot of fun. Have a good week, everyone.
You can't just end a stream with finger guns. That's where you're wrong, kiddo.
Yeah, that's where let's finger guns this. All right. See ya.